Discuss today's top stories where at least 51 Texas House Democrats have left the state to stall voting on the redrawn Texas congressional map. We'll discuss with Party Politics co-host Brandon Rottinghaus. I'm Ernie Manous.
And I'm Celestia Sherman. Houston Restaurant Week is underway, and we'll speak with Chris Williams of the restaurant's Lucille's in late August, who will give us a little insight into this year's event.
We'll also hear Frank's latest installment of Friends of Frank, where he talks with Karen Winston, a clinical assistant professor at Baylor College of Medicine.
And as Ernie, Frank, and I discuss the top headlines of the day, we want your thoughts, questions, and concerns. Give us a call or send us a text at 713-440-8870, or you can email us at talk@hellohouston.org.
Hello Houston is made possible in part by founding sponsors John Bradshaw and Kathy Sanders, and by gifts from listeners like you.
Live from NPR News in Washington, I'm Windsor Johnston. New York Governor Kathy Hochul is backing a group of Texas Democrats who fled their state over the weekend to block a vote on new GOP-drawn congressional maps. Republicans say the plan would add House seats. Democrats call it gerrymandering. Meeting with lawmakers in New York today, Hochul praised what she called their bravery in standing up for Texans at risk of losing representation.
This is not breaking the law. This is a legitimate process that has been used before. By breaking quorum and being here today, these legislators are getting into what John Lewis might call good trouble.
Texas Governor Greg Abbott says if Democrats don't return for this afternoon's vote, he'll pursue legal action to have them removed from the state house. Investors are so far having a rocky August after a weaker than expected jobs report Friday sent stocks plunging. But as NPR's Maria Aspen reports, Wall Street is hoping for some reassurance from big companies this week.
August is a historically weak month on Wall Street. A weak jobs report raised new alarms about the impact President Trump's sweeping tariffs are having on the U.S. economy. Unemployment is ticking up, while employers are creating fewer jobs than expected. Investors had largely been shrugging off the tariffs noise after the president paused and softened some of his initial taxes. But now, Trump has announced more of them on imports from dozens of countries. Now investors will be listening closely as more big companies weigh in on the economy, hiring, and the tariffs fallout. Disney, McDonald's, and Marriott are just some of the companies reporting quarterly results this week. Maria Aspen, NPR News.
Ukraine has carried out drone strikes against Russian warplanes and a railroad station in two separate attacks. NPR's Greg Myrie reports this is part of an ongoing campaign to hit Russian targets well beyond the front lines.
The Ukrainians say they destroyed one Russian fighter jet and damaged four more in the overnight attack on an airbase in Crimea. Ukraine has been striking with increasing frequency in Crimea, the peninsula Russia captured in its initial invasion in 2014. Russia didn't comment on developments in Crimea, but officials did acknowledge a separate Ukrainian drone strike that damaged a railroad station in the southern Russian region of Volgograd. The Russians used the rail network to transport military supplies to territory they control in eastern Ukraine. Greg Myrie, NPR News, Kyiv.
Stocks are trading sharply higher on Wall Street at this hour. The Dow Jones Industrial Average is up 480 points. The Nasdaq Composite also trading higher, up 354. The S&P up 79 points. This is NPR News in Washington.
Live from News 88.7 in Houston, I'm Alexandra Hart. Strong thunderstorms currently moving through the Houston metro area. CenterPoint reporting that 33,000 customers are without power, mainly on the north and west sides. The National Weather Service reporting wind gusts in some areas reaching 50 miles per hour. There are currently ground stops in place at both Bush and Hobby airports due to the storms until 11:30 and 12 respectively. The FAA reporting a possibility for those to be extended. It's currently unclear what will happen when the special legislative session in Austin resumes at 3 o'clock this afternoon. Several House Democrats fled the state yesterday in response to a plan for redrawing the state's political maps, passing through a Texas House committee over the weekend. The lack of lawmakers present in Austin will prevent a quorum from being formed, effectively halting business for now in the legislature. Governor Abbott has now threatened those lawmakers with expulsion from their positions if they don't return. News 88 88's government reporter Andrew Schneider told Houston Matters this morning that what comes next is an open question.
We'll find out at 3 o'clock, but I think it would be wise to take the governor at his word. State Representative Gene Wu, the House Democratic Caucus chair, responded to Abbott's threat last night with a challenge of his own. He said, "Come and take it."
Stay here. We'll have the latest on Texas's redistricting efforts throughout the day here on News 88.7. The operator of a Houston area daycare is accused of leaving kids in a hot car at a grocery store parking lot. Dominique Wilson runs an at-home daycare. She appeared in court on Saturday. Authorities say she's accused of taking her 2 kids into the store, but leaving the 5 kids of her client in a hot car. ABC 13 reports she returned to the car to find the kids in distress. The kids were in the car for over 40 minutes. And today marks 1 month since the catastrophic Hill Country flooding that left at least 135 people dead, most of those taking place in Kerr County. 3 people remain missing. The damage estimate is at least $18 billion. I'm Alexandra Hart, News 88.7.
Support for NPR comes from NPR stations. Other contributors include Progressive Insurance, working to help protect small businesses and the owners that run them, offering customizable coverages to salons, accounting firms, tradespeople, and more. Learn more at progressivecommercial.com.
Live from the University of Houston, it's Hello Houston, an open forum on today's biggest stories affecting Houston and beyond. Call now, 713-440-8870, or let us know your thoughts on today's topics by emailing us at talk@hellohouston.org. Now here's your host for Hello Houston, Ernie Manous, Celestia Sherman, and Frank Billingsley.
It's Monday.
Hello there.
And we're
Hello,
back.
Houston. We are back. All 3 of us.
All 3 of us.
Full
Nice
house.
to see ya.
If you're playing poker, you won today. You got a full house. There's so much going on today. We got a lot to cover. What were you going to say? I'm sorry. I know you were going to say something fun and light.
Well, no, it's just fun and light. Mondays can seem, a lot of people get the Sunday blues, but I feel like today, I don't know if it's just that it's August and we're getting kind of past summer. I know we're still in it, but it feels good. Monday feels good to be back in the studio.
Well, it feels good to you if you're in state. If you happen to be a Democrat who's out of state, it may not be feeling good to you right now.
You jumped right into the news, didn't you?
Yeah.
I do want to jump into it. We've got a lot we want to cover. This is a pivotal moment for Texas state politics for all of us that vote in this state. What's going to happen? Before we get into all of the news, because we do have to get to it, if you're sitting by a window, it's getting dark out there. What's going on,
there's a
Frank?
line of storms that said severe thunderstorm warnings along it pretty much all morning, and will continue to move toward the coast. Right now, it's moved past downtown, so it's on the southeast side of Harris County, basically Lake Livingston to Hobby Airport, where there are hour delays. Then off into Fort Bend County. It's moving quickly though. It'll be in Galveston at 12:30.
After it moves by, what's behind it?
Not much. We're
So then
pretty quiet for the rest of the day. But and Intercontinental's delayed by an hour too, and so it's an airport issue more than anything. I haven't had any flood reports, and I haven't had a lot of high wind reports, although it's possible you get some really gusty winds. Yeah. So just watch out for that. And when you see it coming, it's pretty impressive. Nice shelf cloud out there.
I do have to say, officing next door to you is such a joy, because Frank comes into my office and I've got a window that looks out over downtown. He was like, see that right there? Now that's a shelf cloud, and you can see what's going on. And I'm like learning every day. So we all get to learn together with Frank Billingsley here on Hello Houston.
Hello Houston.
Okay, that's our serious weather, a little bit of frivolity, but then we've got to get right into the news of the day.
You rained on my parade.
Oh, were you waiting for that one?
I was.
Okay, Celeste, take us into the headlines. This is amazing what's going on right now.
Thank you, Ernie. Dozens of Texas House Democrats have left the state, breaking quorum in an effort to block a Republican plan to redraw district maps at President Trump's direction. We've been monitoring and seeing this unfold all weekend long. Several Republican members, most notably State Attorney General Ken Paxton, have called for Democrats' arrest. Governor Greg Abbott went a step further, calling for the Democrats who had broken quorum to be expelled from their elected offices. Abbott said in a statement, "This truancy ends now. The derelict Democrat House members must return to Texas and be in attendance when the House reconvenes at 3 p.m. on Monday, August 4th, 2025. That is today. For any member who fails to do so, I will invoke Texas Attorney General Opinion Number KP0382 to remove the missing Democrats from membership in the Texas House." What are your thoughts on the Texas Democrats' last-ditch attempt and the response from Governor Abbott as well as Attorney General Ken Paxton? Now is the time to join the conversation. You can give us a call at 713-440-8870. And joining us now is the co-host of HPM's Party Politics and U of H Politics Science Professor, Brandon Rottinghaus, to break this down for us. Brandon, welcome to Hello Houston.
Hey, thanks for having me. Happy Manic Monday.
It is crazy. I want to
Monday.
jump right into this because oftentimes I think when politicians put out statements like the governor did yesterday, and you can see the letter online and such, it's the August 3rd letter from the governor about this situation, it's often a lot of bark, very little bite. I look at this letter, I think there's an awful lot of bite in here.
Mm-hmm.
Well, there's certainly some bite because I think the stakes are pretty high. You've certainly let that be pretty clear. And obviously Democrats understand those stakes because they literally broke quorum in order to achieve their goals. The specifics here are where we're going to get into some of the details that I think might make it less impactful for the governor. The governor's relying on an attorney general's opinion. And I emphasize the word opinion because these are done to basically provide people who ask for it a sense of kind of what the attorney general is thinking. It doesn't mean it's a legally binding opinion. Sometimes it's used that way, but it's not technically that way. The other thing to note is that if you look at the fine print of what the governor is relying on in this, the specifics of the attorney general's report say that in effect, that the governor is wrong, that only the chamber itself, that's the Texas House of Representatives, can enforce these rules. So there's not really a way for the courts to do it at this point. That can change, but the way that the law is, the way that the Supreme Court has interpreted this, they've basically said that this is not something that the courts are allowed to do. That's not to say that there won't be other consequences, but for sure, it's not the case that the governor has unilateral power to declare these members absent.
So just to clarify, though, what you're saying here, you have to have a quorum to conduct business within the chambers. So if it's up to the chambers to penalize these elected officials, they would have to have a quorum to do that. They don't have a quorum, so they can't even begin that process.
It's a catch-22.
But the governor is implying in this letter, thanks to the opinion of the attorney general, the governor, is in the position to remove these lawmakers if they fail to do what they were elected to do, which is legislate. And then he goes on to say, and that empowers me to swiftly fill these vacancies according to Article 3, Section 13 of the Texas Constitution, implying at 3 o'clock today, when they're all supposed to be back, he can say, you're not here. I'm invoking my right here, which you don't agree he has. You're no longer members of the chambers, and I'm replacing you with these members. You don't think that can go through?
I don't think it can. Of course, it depends on what the courts do. It's conceivable that the courts would rule that the members who have left have effectively vacated their positions, and therefore there should be a new election that the governor would then call. But we're pretty far away from that. And this is not something that courts have been willing to enter into. They like it when they get to play referee. They don't like it when they have to go play in the game. So
let me put one more ripple in here really quickly.
Yeah.
So if the governor goes to make the move, they begin what we've seen from Supreme Court decisions lately. It's in effect until the court says no. So he could make a move knowing it's not legal, knowing it won't be upheld, make the move, vote on the maps, get the maps approved, all of this, move forward with it before the courts have a chance to intercede and say it's not official. Then what happens?
It's possible, but likely the courts would issue an injunction anyway because there's going to be litigation about the map. So that's a different, separate fight than this. Okay. But like you say, they're related because they obviously have to have a quorum in order to move forward. And so the fact that the governor can shrink that number by expelling certain members because of this certainly implies that the governor has more power than presumed. That's kind of where I come down on this, to say that I don't know that the governor has unilateral power to be able to say that the court should should compel the members of the House to come back to their jobs. So that's really where we get into this issue. And again, because it's an attorney general's opinion, it's really just that. It doesn't have the force of law per se. But again, these things are all going to have to be fought out. And just because it's unprecedented doesn't mean that it won't move in the way the governor wants. So we're still, I think, a little ways away from seeing any kind of real resolution to this legally or politically.
And that's what I was going to ask, regarding the resolution of this. Do you think there's any way possible that the Texas Republicans could back down from moving forward and say, okay, we will take another look and look at how maybe this map needs to be redistricted in a different way? Or do you think it's pretty much a done deal and what essentially Texas Democrats are doing is just stalling the inevitable?
Yeah, the question is, will cooler heads prevail? I don't think we're at that point, I'm sorry to say, in politics. And obviously, the redistricting fight is always kind of an occasion to see the temperature turned up. So I don't think you're going to see a lot of compromise here. Usually, these kinds of fights are done kind of internally. They're done, as they say in baseball, inside the tunnel. They're not done in public. So redistricting is often something that they fight about kind of, individually in rooms and offices that are off the kind of camera's view. So this is a new moment where we're seeing redistricting play out in a very public way. So I don't know that because of that, you're going to see the Republicans back down. They pretty much have been committed to what they are going to do here, and President Trump has given them cover to do it. So I don't think you're going to see any kind of real changes. That's not to say that there might not be some opportunities for the Speaker of the House to make some decisions that might make it easier for Democrats to come back. We've seen this the past couple of times. This has happened in 2003 and 2021. The Speaker of the House lent kind of accommodation to let the members come back. So it's still possible that they can resolve some of this without a lot more political hay. But the fact is that we've already upped the stakes in a significant way. This is a national story, and so nobody wants to blink first.
I just want to remind everyone, a little after noon, we are going to have Texas State House Rep Ann Johnson joining us. She is currently, I believe, in Chicago as one of the elected officials who have left the state.
Hey, Brandon, we have a YouTube question. Have the Republicans ever pulled this? Probably have to go back to Ann Richards to find out, but I don't know the answer offhand.
The short answer is no. Republicans have not needed to. They've always had the numbers that they've needed. And or you've had, say, between the 70s and 90s, kind of moderates that were willing to, bridge the gap between the two parties. Texas has never been run in any significant way by Republicans until about the mid-90s. And so by that time, they already had enough electoral success that they didn't have to. But there have been other instances where in other chambers in places like Oregon that Republicans have left because they were facing the same kind of issues that Democrats in Texas are facing, which is that they didn't have the power to shape the maps and they didn't like the way the maps came out. So it has been done in other contexts, but not for Texas Republicans.
Well, has there ever been an attempt to change this quorum rule? This has happened twice, as you just mentioned. The Democrats are the ones always doing it. Could they, by simple majority, could Republicans by simple majority change the rule and say we don't need a quorum any longer, we just need simple majority?
The short answer is they can't. These are constitutionally mandated, so they have to be set that way. Now, they can change the rules of the House, and partly the reason that these members are being fined for not being in attendance is that they change those rules, which are kind of automatically executed. So they can kind of monitor those issues and make some modifications to the way the rules happen for members of the Texas House. But changing the quorum is a whole different problem.
Any chance of a Texas constitutional crisis?
It's a great question. We've seen moments where the Texas Constitution hasn't lived up to its billing, and there have been efforts to try to change it. It's been really hard. Members disagree about what to do. You have interest groups that have different opinions. The public is often unconvinced that there need to be these kinds of changes. So I think the short answer is that making a big change to the Constitution is really hard and is pretty unlikely.
So people have to pick what hill they want to die on. Is this where the Democrats want to go? I mean, clearly
that's right. And I think, procedurally speaking, Democrats feel like they've been left out in the cold. Now, keep in mind, the Speaker of the House was elected by almost all of the Democrats' votes. And so they feel like they should have had more of a say in how this process went. And they feel like the politics have been thrust upon them from Donald Trump in the White House. So they interpreted this to say that there's really nothing else they can do except just to break quorum and see if they can fight this in a more public kind of messaging way.
Take me to the breaking of quorum and the recent change to the rules of the penalty of $500 a day per member who is breaking quorum. And the question is, so I have seen the Democrats have put out a website. They are trying to raise money. They are looking for support. And the governor spoke about that too in his letter yesterday.
He did. His impression was that this could be construed as bribery if it's the case that the members are accomplishing something or doing something as a result of these payments. That's a pretty kind of obscure legal argument. It would require a kind of fairly broad view of how bribery operates, but that's not to say that they won't try to press it.
Well, he's saying take a look at Texas Penal Code 3602. He's backing it up, he believes, with actual, it's not an opinion this time, it's actually penal code. So what does that say actually?
Yeah, well, I think the bigger issue that it says is that the governor's not willing to back down this time. And in fact, this is actually kind of a little historical point, because when this happened in 2003, there was a concern that Governor Perry at the time wasn't being aggressive enough to try to use his influence or his ability or authority to be able to bring Democrats back. Eventually, they came back on their own. But in this case, Governor Abbott is not waiting. He understands the stakes and makes it pretty clear that they're pretty much in lockstep with Donald Trump. Now, obviously, they're going to have to get some help with the courts on this. The interpretation of what bribery means is going to have to be thought about, and the question of who's going to prosecute these cases is also on the table. So there's, again, kind of lots of legal questions about what this might mean. But Democrats are going to need that money, and they're going to need the help, because when they come back, Republicans are talking about doing things like stripping them of committee assignments, removing seniority, taking away parking spaces. We all know how valuable those things are in Austin. So these are the kind of things that they might get kind of confronted with on the way back.
You know, Brandon, we're using words like truancy and bribery, and you're talking how this is really unprecedented times, and we're looking at this really from a historical standpoint as well, what's happening within our Texas politics. Do you think that there is going to be some kind of backlash after this? Do you think it really is going to change long-term effects in the state of Texas?
Yeah, it's a great question. You know, one thing that this kind of break has done, and historically is true, is that it just drives a further wedge between the parties. It's so hard for them to lawmake on normal issues, let alone on high profile, really politically charged issues. So this is the kind of thing that's definitely going to create a lot more animosity, which, you know, we don't need more of.
What would you tell the Democrats? What would you tell the Democrats?
Well, I think what I would tell the Democrats is that, you know, they're going to have to find some way to make this work. They're going to have to use this messaging moment to be able to highlight the things that Donald Trump is not doing well, the kind of concerns that everyday Americans have about inflation or tariffs, or highlighting some of the immigration issues that have gone on that people are uncomfortable with. That's what they should use this for. If they've got a spotlight, they've got to be able to take advantage of it, because it's kind of in response to Celeste's question too, there's really not much they can do legally or politically to be able to stop this. So really, this is a moment for them to have the spotlight and use it effectively to try to convey the issues they care about.
Well, again, remember, Ann Johnson will be joining us at 12:10. She's a Texas State House rep, to tell us she is one of the Dems that has left the state, what they're planning, what they're thinking. Brandon, a lot more is going to happen on this story over the next few days, possibly weeks. I hope you'll be there to chat with us about it. I'm very curious to see what's going to happen at 3 o'clock today. This is like the government wonky soap opera we've been waiting for.
It's appointment television. We want to see, how it plays out.
Yes. Brandon Rottinghaus is the co-host of HPM's Party Politics and U of H Political Science Professor. Brandon, thanks for joining us today on Hello Houston.
Thank you.
Hey, thanks, y'all.
And coming up on Hello Houston, Houston Restaurant Week continues, and Chris Williams of Lucille's in late August will be live in studio with some of his delicious food. I can smell it. This is News 88.7. Stay with us.
Hello, I'm Josh Adams, General Manager of Houston Public Media. This station just lost $2.2 million in federal support annually. To keep our station strong, we've launched the Resiliency Fund, powered by community members just like you. Your support will help bridge the funding gap and ensure these programs remain free and accessible to everyone. If public media and this station matter to you, now is the time to act. Support the Resiliency Fund today at houstonpublicmedia.org/donate.
new controversial immigration detention center in Florida. Attorneys say detainees are being held there without charges or access to legal counsel. As the Trump administration's aggressive deportation push continues, a look at the legal rights of those in immigration detention centers and the conditions they face. That's next time on 1A.
Hi, this is Matt Harrop. There's been a lot of news to cover in Houston over the last few months. Keep listening to Houston Public Media for the latest, and if you've got a car, truck, boat, or RV you don't need anymore, donate it to the station. It could be worth hundreds of dollars in support. The donation process is easy for you, and we'll pick up your vehicle in any condition. Here's how to get started. Go to houstonpublicmedia.org/cars to learn more. Thank you.
Support comes from the Elizabeth D. Rockwell Center, presenting Rebooting Our Relationship with Tech, a lecture series at the University of Houston, exploring the intersection of technology, society, and democracy. More at uh.edu/hobby.
Support comes from John Moore, helping with plumbing, electrical, and air conditioning repairs, including out-of-warranty units since 1965. Details at 730-2525. or at johnmooreservices.com.
And now back to Hello Houston. To comment on today's topics, call or text 713-440-8870 or email us at talk@hellohouston.org. Now here's Ernie Manous, Celeste Diaz-Sherman, and Frank Billingsley.
Houston Restaurant Weeks is the largest annual fundraiser for America's largest food bank. That's the Houston Food Bank. Restaurants that participate in the event serve plates from a prefixed menu, and every single dollar generated by the donations from the participating restaurants from these meals generates 3 meals for the Houston Food Bank. This year, the event runs through September 1st. And to help us give a little insight into this year's event is Chef Chris Williams, who has 2 restaurants participating, Lucille's and recent Michelin designee, Late August. Chris, welcome to Hello Houston.
Thanks for having me.
It's great to have you because you come with food.
I mean,
I really enjoy it.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah,
and not just food, I have to say, beautiful food.
Yeah, you eat with your eyes, right?
Yes,
Yeah,
absolutely.
well, this is really indicative of Chef Sergio. Normally, when we do these radio shows, everything comes in to-go boxes, but he insisted on bringing actual plates and having me plate it here in studio. So,
yes.
It's important.
Thank you, Chef
we didn't
Sergio.
get to mention this at the beginning of the show. We are broadcasting on YouTube. So you can go to
That's
YouTube
right.
and you can see all the fabulous food. I've got a little bowl in front of me. We'll talk about that. Just go to YouTube, look for the Houston Public Media channel, and there we are with Chef and all that he brought us today.
Can you give us an idea of what you brought?
Yeah. Sure. So I lost my key. No, actually, the AC repairman has my key for Lucille, so I wasn't able to get over there and get you anything from Lucille. So all this comes from Late August.
What I like about that is real world problems we all have.
Oh, yeah.
You never think
absolutely.
like a major restaurant has these same. We all have them.
So
yeah,
then if we're looking and we're talking about and we're looking at food from Late August, I want you to tell our audience about the connection of Late August to the Sears catalog.
Of course, yeah. So every one of our restaurants, and we have 4 restaurants now, 1 in Canada, 3 in Houston. Everything's tied to history. So we wanted to have something, we're in the Ion building, which is a former Sears building, which was an architectural marvel built around 1908. First building in the city to have an escalator. So I started researching the Sears Roebuck Company and found out how they desegregated the shopping experience for all Americans, Amazon before Amazon. And then my personal tie to the building was my mother forced me to go buy those terrible khakis from there in the polos. And then to the Sears company, it was a Christmas catalog. So I started researching when that catalog came out, and all I could find was it came out in late August. So that's why I named the restaurant Late August. We kept the original terrazzo marble inside there. It's a nod to the history of that building, and it was vague enough to give me room to do whatever we wanted to do, and we decided to go with Afro-Mex.
Nice. Weirdly related, I actually owned a house in Roanoke, Virginia that was bought from the Sears Roebuck catalog.
Really?
Yes,
yeah.
They sold houses in the 20s out of the catalog.
Walt's house is one of those catalog houses.
I own it.
That's amazing.
All right, so back to my question.
Okay, yes,
What did
back
you
to
bring
Frank's
us?
question.
What did you bring us?
So this is a showcase of what Chef Sergio Hidalgo, who's brilliant, is running this year. So what we have is we want to put our best foot forward. So this is directly from our farms because we have several farms or 2 farms that we run with our nonprofit, and then Late August purchases food or ingredients from the farms to help sustain the mission, because these farms are built to give, to be community assets. We don't charge anything for it except for the restaurants. So the first thing that we have is our tomato salad, which was tomatoes, cucumbers that come straight from the farms, with Lucille's fry bread, which is a different iteration of the hot roll mix that we make over at Lucille's.
Why don't you talk about it? Hand it over to me. They have a camera angle they like that they can shoot from, so people online can see it.
And it has suya vinaigrette on it, which is sesame and a little bit of nuckamam, and it's one of my favorite things. It tastes like summer. And that's going to run out, by the end of this month. We'll be done with the tomato season. We'll have to come up with something new. Then we have the our Mexican Philly, and this one, like I mentioned, the restaurant's Afro-Mex. So this one's a really fun iteration of this idea. It's the shaved ribeye with the refried black-eyed peas, pico de gallo, caramelized onions, and then some good old Velveeta on top of it. This is a fun, this is a sandwich that Sergio and I felt
Ernie's language.
We fell in love with each other, talking about our humble backgrounds, culinarily speaking, how we want to just elevate those foods. So this is one of the first collaborative dishes that we came up with. So it's a fan. I'm excited for you guys to try it because we never put it on the menu. Then we have our black-eyed pea hummus with, again, the fry bread, which is an iteration of the original Lucille's hot roll mix, first in the country. And we have a new dish, which is braised short rib over forbidden rice with heirloom corn, a braising Jew, and again some tomatoes from our farm, garnished with some pea shoots. And last but not least, that little number right there is one of my favorite things. And this was actually created from Vivi from Mexico City, and that is what is it called? Why am I arroz con leche?
Arroz con leche, que rico!
But it's bruleed. So we bruleed. It has a Mexican. It has a mezcal blueberry compote at the bottom, topped off with cornbread croutons. It's fantastic. It's one of my favorite desserts that I've ever had.
Pásamelo, Ernie.
No, it's staying right here.
Since y'all are vegetarians, I'll just eat all of this.
No. So that's interesting. When you're, I know you were talking a little bit about late August, but I want to jump really quickly to Lucille's because it's defined as well-refined Southern cuisine. Mm-hmm. And how did you come to that place of well-refined? How do you take a dish and decide how it's going to be refined?
Well, it really comes from the namesake of the restaurant, my great-grandmother, who was a true chef, a true culinarian. And what makes her that is just her genuine curiosity about the culinary arts, which meant that she studied classic French cuisine to Mexican cuisine to the things that are in the South, which, is really just defined by the ingredients that are available to us. Everything that she did was fine. Everything that she did was elegant. Southern cuisine's got a bad rap for a minute. It's past, but it was, especially coming from my community, it was soul food and that's it. And it has very simplified connotations on what that is, even though it's a genius cuisine. So we wanted to just take that and just polish it up with my experience from working over Europe for 4 years, and then Canada for 2 years, and up and down the East Coast and everywhere else.
Let me take you back to Houston Restaurant Weeks, though.
Sure.
We often talk about what's so wonderful about it, besides the fact that it raises the money for the Houston Food Bank, is that for the restaurant industry, August, even across the country, is a pretty dead month.
Yeah.
Here in Houston, because of this program, it keeps people employed. So it doesn't just help those that are facing food insecurity. In some way, it's keeping other people from facing food insecurity by having this program.
No, absolutely. I mean, July, this is probably the worst month that we've had, the worst July that we've had in 13 years of doing business, or 14 years. So we look forward to Houston Restaurant Weeks every year. And when Cleverly Stone started it, it was just a gift because most restaurants would close. Mm-hmm. So you're absolutely right. It gives us an opportunity to showcase new product, to provide value, to introduce what we do to a new audience. And of course, it's dual purpose dollars, because not only are you able to enjoy something of value, but you know that your dollars are going to go benefit a better cause.
So, are tariffs hitting I know tariffs are hitting the industry.
Tariffs are hitting everything.
Everything, yeah.
Yeah. We haven't felt it as much as I expected yet. I thought that we were really going to get it in wine programs. The vendors haven't really, they haven't started taxing us yet, but they're starting to prepare us with their complaints about the effects of tariffs. So that's just kind of teeing us up for what is likely to come sooner than later.
Just the HVAC costs.
Yeah.
that you're going to have.
And
I mean, that was $42,000 surprise I got to start off the summer. It's ridiculous. It was ridiculous.
And you talked about giving back and, working obviously Restaurant Week, but you got with Restaurant Week with the Houston Food Bank, but you also have Lucille's 1913. And that was started peak pandemic in 2020. And talk about the impact that that's had and that you've continued on with it.
Yeah, so we started with the pandemic because that's the first time I found out about the word furlough. I didn't know what it meant. And so I didn't furlough anybody. We made a commitment to our staff, put everybody on salary from front to the back of the house, and had hard conversations. And we kept 100% of our, 99% of our team. I had to let go of one person. Yeah, just because they had to go. But outside of that.
I found a job.
Frank found the place. We took it.
But so since we kept our team, business was down 90%, but we still, we were used to working hard. My people are prideful, thank God. And so we started cooking for first responders. Those were, right in our backyard at the medical center. But we went after the graveyard shift, the people that are typically not considered. So we were delivering meals that looked just like this and taking them right up over there. We did 3,000 in the first 2 weeks of the shutdown. We got addicted to that work. Then we started feeding our elders around Houston and food deserts who had they had subsidized housing, but when it came to food security, they were on their own. So we took the exact same approach to them, and by the end of it, we did a little bit over 1 million meals, all from scratch.
Wow.
And now, since we realized that program, and this is about 2 years ago, that it was obsolete, we switched focus to growing. We want, I'm from the southwest side of Houston. I live in 3rd Ward. Before HEB came, there was very little access to fresh food. So we realize with the malnutrition in our community, it's due to lack of access. And then it's not cheap to eat well.
Right.
So what we do now is we grow specifically for the palates of the people that we're serving, just like we cooked for the palates of the people that we're serving. It didn't matter if it was African American, Hispanic, or Afghani. When we welcomed those 3,000 families to Gulfton, we tried to cook 100% Afghani meals. We didn't, but they appreciated the effort. Now we grow for the palates of the people that we're serving. So we're not wasting time with rutabaga and romesco and whatever. If we're out in Kendleton, Texas, where our largest farm is, through a partnership with the county judge's office down there, we grow for those pallets. And it's free. It's an absolute asset to the community. They're welcome to come pick. They're welcome to take the harvest as we pull it up. And it's 6 acres that we're working on right now. And so, and when you taste that tomato salad, you're tasting that work.
Yeah, I tried that tomato. Ooh,
yeah. Chris, why is it so important for you to give back to your communities? I mean, that seems kind of like a softball question, but I really mean it. Sounds like you've put a lot of thought into not just Restaurant Week, but your entire career in giving back.
Well, I mean, it's just, that we're just fortunate to have the opportunity to serve. And the one thing that I realized that an investment in your community is an investment in you and an investment in your business. So as long as we're able to do it, we do it.
Let me take a more businessy approach then. Lucille's is basically legendary at this point. What is the key to, in today, because we see so many restaurants open and close, flash in the pans, what does it take to have a sustained, long-lasting restaurant that builds a reputation? How do you do it?
I almost cussed. but
thank you for not.
Yeah, all I can say is that, the reality is that businesses don't fail, entrepreneurs quit. So we've had nothing but opportunities and reasons to quit. I guess I'm just too foolish to do that.
Well, you built quite a legacy.
Well, I'm assuming since you're responsible for the AC, you own these buildings.
No, I only own the dirt with Lucille's. We have the Ratto Market, which is in the El Dorado Ballroom, historic El Dorado Ballroom owned by Project Row Houses. And that's a lovely little story behind that one, too. But we rent there and we rent over at the Ion, and we own in Canada.
We've heard that leasing these days, that it's almost like everyone's trying to make up for COVID when everyone was empty and abandoned buildings, that the leases have just gone skyrocketing.
It's ridiculous. And, restaurants, I hope that people come out and support during restaurant weeks because we make people rich. We're the biggest conduit of cash of any industry that I know of.
Yeah.
Like we serve everybody and everything, and we are literally a conduit
While we talk about this, I want to remind everyone, Houston Restaurant Weeks with an S.com. That's the website where you can find all the different restaurants that are participating. All of their menus are there. All of them have prefixed price meals, be it for lunch, dinner, even brunch this year, I guess, is in the fold. At dinner, there's 2 different price points. Of all of these preset meals, a percentage of the sale goes to the Houston Food Bank, which, as Celeste mentioned in her introduction, with a single dollar from each one of these donations, they can provide 3 meals because they are good stewards of your donation. And it's a wonderful way to celebrate and learn about new restaurants. So how many people that come in during restaurant weeks have never darkened your doorway before? Do you find a big number?
Yeah, I mean, with Lucille's, we've been doing it since it started, or the year after it started. So we constantly see new people. Late August, I'm really hoping that because we're in the Ion building, which is in a transient part of town where people have been educated to drive through quickly. So we're hoping that people come out and give it a shot. We're hoping, like as you can see here, Sergio's putting his best foot forward. And also another reason why we're excited about this, or we want people to come check it out, because we're about to switch up our model completely over late August.
Okay.
Well, yeah.
What is that? Because of the Michelin designee, or?
Well, it's because of that. It's also because of the pace of the building, the fact that it's a destination space. We figured let's go ahead and lean into it. And I just discovered a distant relative who just happens to be a Michelin star chef in Taiwan. And she's from Guadalupe, Chef Jennifer Parsons. So she's coming here on Thursday. And she's going to work with myself and Chef Sergio. And we're about to go into, we're going to split the restaurant to 2 halves after restaurant weeks. It's going to be one half, an approachable, affordable tasting menu experience from 5 to 7 courses. And then on the other half, it'll be sexy snacks, lounge, and like you're chilling in Mexico City.
Yeah, are you doing some
sexy
fusion?
snacks? I like that.
Yeah, so the whole premise of Late August is a Afro-Mex, African-American, West African, and Mexican fusion. So that's why you have the refried black eyed peas. It's why you have this Mexican Philly situation, the hummus, the brulee, arroz con leche. The whole thing's a mashup, and it's a natural, beautiful combination that we're excited about.
We did get a nice YouTube. Hey there to the guest. Love your eateries. I've been to both. I went to Late August for my birthday in January.
Oh, well, thank you. I love you. Come back. Make your birthday. Let's celebrate your birthday every day, at least once a week.
Chris Williams founded Lucille's and Late August, which is a recent Michelin designee. Both restaurants are participating in Houston Restaurant Weeks this year. Chris, thanks for joining us and bringing us this amazing, beautiful food.
Thanks for having me.
And coming up, another installment of Friends of Frank. Stay with us as Hello Houston continues.
With federal support gone, Houston Public Media needs a stronger foundation for the future. The Houston Public Media Resiliency Fund is our response to ensure this service remains strong, stable, and community-powered. Your gift today helps us stay on the air tomorrow and the day after that. Give now to the Resiliency Fund at houstonpublicmedia.org/donate or call 800-364-8300.
You can't tackle life's big challenges if you let the little ones get you down. That's why Houston Matters devotes the first Monday of each month to a sort of group moan session we call Houstonian Pet Peeves. It's a communal, cathartic experience, but not everyone can join us live at 9 a.m., and not every peeve occurs to you right then and there. That's okay. We welcome your gripes about life in Houston anytime at talk@houstonmatters.org.
And now back to Hello Houston. To comment on today's topics, call or text 713-440-8870 or email us at talk@hellohouston.org. Now here's Ernie Manous, Celeste Diaz-Sherman, and Frank Billingsley.
Houstonian Karen Winston is a psychotherapist, a couples counselor, and clinical assistant professor at Baylor College of Medicine. She's a very close friend of Frank for decades now, and we sat down recently in light of the Hill Country flood tragedy to talk about what we are all going through on some level, grief. So please have a listen to my conversation with Karen Winston. I'm here this morning with Karen Winston, who is a real friend of Frank. Friends for 30 years, practically. Karen is a psychotherapist. She works with the Baylor College of Medicine in the psychiatric department.
Psychiatry, right.
And also has worked with the Texans, which we'll talk about at some point in our interviews. And you're also a couples counselor. So I want to talk about that also today. The reason I want to talk to you today is what we went through July 4th in the Hill Country and the loss of life. But let's start with a very simple, basic definition. What is grief? How do you define grief?
I define grief as a profound sense of loss and sadness.
And that can be anything.
It can be anything.
I mean, we grieve over losing a pet.
Absolutely.
Certainly other human beings in our life. We might have grief over losing a job.
Yes.
Losing a house.
That's right.
Graduating from college. We have grief that we have to leave that cocoon. Divorce leads to grief. So with all the kinds of grief, it seems like what we've had to face with the Hill Country floods is grief and shock at the same time, and maybe something else. I mean, but certainly grief and shock and this angst of why this had to happen.
Well, and anger. You know, people were so caught off guard and so unprepared that, you know, there's these levels of our experience in life, levels of the immediacy of the event or an event. It could be the floods, but it could be something else, like getting fired is a great one. Like you're in shock, and then you're just trying to move one foot at a time to figure out, how do I either get to higher ground? How do I find loved ones? Who do I reach out to? How do I get my stuff? How do I support my family if it's loss of a job? Like there's that immediate experience of just trying to walk through this experience. And then there's the experience that follows that.
So you have obviously first denial. I'm even if you're getting fired, you probably think, no, I'm really not. You know, and certainly when you have a tragedy of a lost loved one that's been swept away in a flood, you think, not my loved one. So that you have that denial and that fear, and then finally, I guess, you come to the conclusion that this is reality.
Eventually, hopefully, you come to whatever your reality was. And also, we have to understand denial is a defense. It protects us. So sometimes we have to invoke that to care for ourselves. It's helpful at times. If it persists, it's not helpful.
So once we define what grief is and we feel this loss and get past the denial and the anger, and then we're left with this hole in our heart, what's the best way, and everybody has to be different, what's the best way to deal with grief?
So are you talking about grief from something that's sudden or grief from something that's anticipated?
Well, let's talk about both.
Okay.
How do you get over something, the grief that is something that you would never have dreamed of in a million years, but it's happened and it's caused you such profound grief? How do you go about dealing with that?
First of all, I'm going to take sudden grief. With sudden grief, you want to go slow. So if it's yourself or a loved one, move very slow in trying to understand what happened, get all the facts. But you want to try to find a stable, reliable environment. So if your home is a stable, reliable environment, it's good to have that so you can start trying to understand what happened in the sudden loss. That can also be like what happened in Kirk County, in the Hill Country. It can be all these people that are losing their jobs. You just have to get your feet under you and take your time so you can feel your body, feel yourself, to think about what's next. Now, with sudden loss, you've got a lot to process. With anticipated grief, like maybe you have a parent that's been sick for a long time and they die, then you have anticipated grief. Hopefully you've said everything you need to say to that loved one, and you've made peace with them in the best possible world, like, you know, sometimes that's impossible. and it helps our grieving. It helps us move through it. So they're very different processes.
What about the kind of grief where it's happened and other people want to comfort you? It's so hard to know. Even on a Facebook post, do I just say, I'm sorry, my condolences, or do you try to say, I'm sorry for your loss. I remember this person is such a good guy, and we went fishing every other Saturday, and or I knew this person in college, and I'm so sorry for your loss. How do we, as outsiders, understand grief? I understand what you're going through, but how do I approach you and let you know that?
So, great question. One size doesn't fit all. Use your example. If you're on Facebook, we have all kinds of people on that page that we know sorta and we know really well. And I think if you knew the person, to say something kind about the person that passed is lovely. And if you don't know the person, but you know the person sorta on your Facebook, I think a sorry for your sadness, your loss, your pain, absolutely is appropriate. The more personal it is, though, I would text them personally or call them personally. I'm here. I don't want to intrude, but I care about you. I'll drop off some food. I'll drop off some water, metaphorically. That we're there for really close people, but not trying to be intrusive, but trying to be empathic and caring.
Okay, put on your couples therapy hat.
Mm-hmm.
There can be a couple that together are going through grief, and it could be the loss of a child. Yeah. And this can break up couples.
Of course.
So if you're, and I have two questions. If you're the person who is almost wanting to blame your spouse that this happened, why did you let our child wander toward the swimming pool, and now they have fallen into it? And so you want to blame your spouse. That's not going to bring anybody back. How do you prevent yourself from going down that path?
Well, you have to have self-awareness, first of all, because if you blame a spouse for the death of a child, that marriage is probably over. So you're going to lose two things, your child and your marriage.
And on the other side, if you feel such enormous guilt that I should not have done whatever I did, I should have been watching more carefully. Yeah. I mean, we have children who die in the back of car seats during the summer.
That's right.
Unfortunately,
That's right.
every summer.
That's right.
And I can't imagine the profound guilt that you have.
Yeah.
How does one ever balance that for the rest of their life?
I don't know. I mean, there's not a good answer to that, because I think if we even dared let ourselves be that parent that happened to, I don't know how you ever get over that. But I will say this, there's help to try to work through it. So maybe there's a little less profound guilt.
When you say help, I know therapy with a one-on-one counselor or couples counselor.
Go to your religious leader, your pastor, your priest, whoever comforts you.
And what about grief groups? Are those valuable?
Fabulous. Excellent.
I would think so.
Really good. If you're a group person, that's great. A lot of churches have grief counseling. This is really one of the great things many congregations do, and temples.
So the important thing is to know you're not alone.
And to know there is help, and you're not weird because you can't get over something, that you just feel it so strongly. But the most important thing is not to be in denial about it, to say, I am grieving, I am in so much pain, and I'm 6 months down the road, I'm a year down the road, and I can't really function, depending on, of course, what the loss is. It takes a lot of time for a lot of losses.
I guess that pretty obviously can lead to drinking, taking pills.
Numbing.
Numbing.
Of
However
course.
you can numb that pain.
Of course. And we would understand the numbing. But self-awareness really comes into play to say, look, I can't get to work because I'm drunk. Well, I'm drunk because I'm in so much pain I can't bear it. I need help. Or my loved one needs help. Or my friend needs help. And it's not help because there's something wrong with you. It's you need help because you're feeling so intensely and you need to process it.
What happens if you never get over it?
It'll come out. It comes out in your behavior. I see it all the time with kids that went through traumas, kids that had a parent that committed suicide, that was lost in the war. Problem is, if it's never talked about at home, that loss, that trauma, it will definitely come out in your behavior or in your habits. You may not associate the two things. You may not associate your behavior or your habit to trauma, but it's there. I cannot stress enough in my 32 years of practicing, talking makes a difference. Processing grief, trauma, loss makes a difference.
I think it was Robert Frost who said that the best way out is through it.
Yeah, it's beautiful. Beautifully said.
You just have to get through it.
Have to. And with someone, not alone.
Any last wise words when we're dealing with grief? Well, that's a lot of good advice. Yeah. I mean, I'm hearing that you're not alone. Find a place where you can talk about it. Understand it's not, there are things that aren't your fault. And I guess there are things sometimes that are your fault.
Yeah.
And you have to deal with the guilt of that.
That's right.
And is that something that you go to therapy for?
Of course. Anything that doesn't resolve over time or is much less intense, I think that's a good time to reach out. But grief is on a spectrum, right? We can have grief again from losing a parent that we knew was going to die, and they were in their 90s and had this beautiful life, and we're still going to feel it on their birthdays, on their date of death, on special holidays that you shared, or maybe even, I remember after my father died, walking in the grocery store 6 years after he died, and I saw the cookies he liked, and I still wanted to pick them off the shelf, and I had to remind myself. And that was how my grief showed up, is that memory.
Does grief ever turn into something really positive? Or is it just best gotten over?
I think we're seeing it right now in Kerr County. I mean, amazing people volunteering and helping their community, raising funds, serving the first responders and the other people that after the first responders that came in, giving back, being a part of a community. There's nothing better. You know, I'm going to circle back to something I already said. Don't move through grief alone. Everyone just about can relate to grief of some sort. Reach out, reach out, reach out.
I'm going to leave it there. Karen Winston is a psychotherapist, Baylor College of Medicine, Psychiatric Department. Psychiatry Department. Psychiatric sounds like a hospital, doesn't it?
It is.
It is. Psychiatry Department. And a friend of Frank's for a long time. Thank you for being a friend of Frank.
My pleasure.
All right. Thank you, Karen Winston, for some wise words there. And hopefully that resonated with some of our listeners. I certainly got a lot out of it. So my sincere thanks to my dear friend, Karen Winston, a friend of Frank. I'll have her back.
For sure. And coming up on Hello Houston, Texas State House Representative for District 134, Ann Johnson, will join us from Chicago. She is one of the current out-of-state Democrats. Stay with us for the second hour of Hello Houston.
Stay tuned. There's more Hello Houston on the way with Ernie Manous, Celeste Diaz-Sherman, and Frank Billingsley. For the latest in local news, subscribe to the Hello Houston daily newsletter at HoustonPublicMedia.org. Hello Houston is a production of Houston Public Media. The opinions expressed by the guests of this program are solely their own and do not represent the views of management, staff, or underwriters of Houston Public Media. This is News 88.7.
I'm Greg Dalton.
And I'm Ariana Brocious. On Climate One, we believe that addressing the climate crisis begins by talking about it.
So we engage diverse voices to deepen your understanding of all aspects of the climate emergency, the individual and the systemic.
The scary and the exciting, causes and solutions.
So join us for conversations about the most critical issue of our time on Climate One.
Sundays at 6 a.m. on News 88.7. Support comes from John Moore, helping with plumbing, electrical, and air conditioning repairs, including out-of-warranty units since 1965. Details at 730-2525 or at johnmooreservices.com.
88 degrees at the University of Houston. I'm Tiffany Taylor. Highs in the low 90s with an 80% chance of thunderstorms through this afternoon. This is your NPR station, KUHF Houston News 88.7, a service of the University of Houston.
Just ahead on this hour of Hello Houston, we'll continue discussing today's top stories, including students at every Houston ISD campus no longer being allowed to use their cell phones during the school day starting this upcoming school year. I'm Celestia Sherman.
And I'm Ernie Manous. We'll also speak with Houston City Councilwoman Dr. Carolyn Evans-Shabazz, who will join us to talk about District D and take your questions.
Plus, we'll also talk with Houston local Erick Estrada, who will tell us about his 10-year-old son who wanted to find a way to help after Congress voted to end funding for the Corporation for Public Broadcasting.
And we want to hear from you, so give us a call or text us at 713-440-8870 or email us at talk@hellohouston.org. You can also watch us on our YouTube channel. Just go to hellohouston.org and click the big orange banner.
Hello Houston is made possible in part by founding sponsors John Bradshaw and Kathy Sanders, and by gifts from listeners like you.
Live from NPR News in Washington, I'm Windsor Johnston. Fallout is mounting after President Trump fired the head of the Bureau of Labor Statistics on Friday following a weaker-than-expected jobs report. NPR's Scott Horsley says economists from across the political spectrum are criticizing the decision.
They've denounced the president's move as something out of an authoritarian playbook. It's the kind of thing you might see in China, and it's why China's official economic data is not considered very trustworthy. U.S. government data, on the other hand, has long been considered the gold standard. Now, to be sure, numbers do get revised from month to month. The latest revisions show job growth in May and June was much weaker than initially reported.
That's NPR's Scott Horsley reporting. With just days to go before President Trump's 50% tariffs on Brazilian goods take effect, both countries are dialing down the tension. Trump says he's open to a call from Brazil's president, who in turn says he's ready to ease up on nationalist rhetoric. NPR's Carrie Kahn reports.
Brazil's President Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva says he wants dialogue with Trump, who set the deadline for the tariffs this week. Lula told party loyalists, quote, "I can't say everything I think I should say. I have to say what is possible," signaling he's ready to tone down his tough messages against what he says is Trump's meddling. Trump says he imposed the tariffs because of what he calls political persecution of former far-right President Jair Bolsonaro, charged with election interference and plotting a coup. Bolsonaro supporters rallied over the weekend, waving American and Brazilian flags, and urged passage of an amnesty for the former leader, and hundreds charged with attempts to overthrow the 2022 elections. Carrie Kahn, NPR News, Rio de Janeiro.
Hamas and Israel still appear to be far apart on a multi-staged ceasefire and hostage release deal. NPR's Eleanor Beardsley reports Israeli and U.S. officials may be leaning towards a military solution to free them.
Desperate videos of emaciated Israeli hostages in Gaza's tunnels swelled weekend anti-war protests in Israel. International pressure over starvation conditions in Gaza is also putting pressure on the Israeli government to come to a deal. But Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's office released a statement Sunday saying, quote, "Hamas doesn't want a deal. It wants to break us, but we will not break. I am filled with an even stronger determination to bring back our kidnapped sons and to eliminate Hamas." Israeli media are reporting that there are plans for Israeli forces to expand the Gaza offensive into sensitive areas so far avoided over concerns about the presence of Israeli hostages. Family members call Netanyahu's plans to free the hostages by military force a, quote, death sentence. Eleanor Beardsley, NPR News, Tel Aviv.
On Wall Street, the Dow was up 540 points. This is NPR News.
Live from News 88.7 in Houston, I'm Alexandra Hart. Dozens of Texas Democrats are out of state, temporarily halting work on the special legislative session. The quorum break is in response to the Republican redistricting effort designed to flip 5 seats in next year's midterms. Some of the lawmakers who left Texas are in New York, where they have the support of New York Governor Kathy Hochul. She says she plans to retaliate against the Texas redistricting effort.
All's fair in love and war. That's why I'm exploring with our leaders every option to redraw our state congressional lines as soon as possible. Our state legislative leaders, Carol Heastie, Majority Leader Andre Stewart-Cousins, they're on board.
The move to break quorum came one day after a state House committee approved the new maps. Representative Joe Moody of Austin says Republicans pushed ahead despite widespread voter opposition.
Across all hearings, people were almost 100 to 1 against it. On social media, that's called getting ratioed.
Lawmakers are set to convene again this afternoon at 3. Even though it's an off year for city elections, Houston residents will see a city council race on their ballot this November. That's because at-large city council member Letitia Plummer is stepping down to run for Harris County judge. News 88.7's Dominic Anthony Walsh reports.
There's also a special election in November to fill the 18th congressional district seat left vacant by the death of Sylvester Turner. The district spans out from the downtown area to the northeast and northwest, as well as north of Beltway 8. Political scientist Mark Jones with Rice University says turnout in that area is likely to be elevated.
And that provides a real advantage to any City of Houston council candidate running citywide who has a strong base of support within the boundaries of Congressional District 18.
While that area might have an outsized impact, it is an at-large city council position, meaning every voter in Houston has a say. I'm Dominic Anthony Walsh, News 88.7.
It was another tough weekend for the Astros. Houston was swept by the Boston Red Sox. The Stros are in Miami to take on the Marlins today. I'm Alexandra Hart, News 88.7.
Support for NPR comes from NPR stations. Other contributors include Fisher Investments. Fisher is committed to helping clients stay on track to reach their financial goals and enjoy a comfortable retirement. FisherInvestments.com. Investing in securities involves the risk of loss.
Live from Houston Public Media and News 88.7, it's Hello Houston, an open forum on today's biggest stories affecting Houston and beyond. Call now, 713-440-8870, or let us know your thoughts on today's topics by emailing us at talk@hellohouston.org. And now here's your host for Hello Houston, Ernie Manous, Celestia Sherman, and Frank Billingsley.
Thanks for joining us this second hour of Hello Houston.
What's the date?
Today is August 4th.
There you go.
2025, 8-4. And we kind of had lunch with you all.
Yeah, in the last hour. And it's good because you don't want to go out and get lunch right now. It's
well, for some people. But I told you this line of storms would be in Galveston at 12:30.
Yeah.
I think I'm going to be about right. It's in the bay right now, down toward the coast of Brazoria, sort of curling back toward Matagorda. It's a strong line of storms. Special marine warnings are in effect for the possibility of some gusty winds and heavy downpours and lightning. But once it is past you, it's past you. So once it gets there, give it 20 minutes and it'll be gone.
Yeah.
I always tell you, it's like your in-laws. When are they going to get there? How long are they going to stay? And how bad is it going to be?
Well, if it's my in-laws, it's not bad at all. But
well, it's
on
what I
record,
always hear when Frank is going down to Galveston. People come and say, "Oh, the storm's arriving. Here comes the storm."
Here comes the storm.
And you tear through the island.
I know it is Monday, but I will say that I am very excited about Thursday because I have a current obsession.
Oh, you've already got
I've
your
already got it.
picked out?
I'm teasing current obsessions, but yes.
I'll give you my current obsession early. My Monday current obsession, Sunset Boulevard. They're celebrating the 75th anniversary of the film, and there's a brand new 4K print. I know, this is how geeky I
don't even know what that means.
So beautiful. And for those of you who are familiar with the recent HD updoing of the film in 2012, this one they really looked at the audio. and really did a better balance, took the hiss and the buzz out from it, and it's supposed to be fun. I'm going to see it tonight.
Any chance it's closed captioned?
I'm sure it is. But, I'm going to throw this out there. I'm sure it's not a shocker for our regulars who know. If I haven't seen so many movies, so I definitely have not seen Sunset Boulevard from 1950.
You've got to see it.
But I really want to see it.
It is the movie. But anyway, that we'll do our obsessions on Thursday. And if you have an obsession, we always invite you to share them with us. Start sending them in now. We'll hold on to them. And on Thursday, we'll read your obsessions too. Give us an email. Send us an email. talk@hellohouston.org. But there's a lot going on in the news today right now, as we know, with the Dems. And so, Celeste, start us off.
Yes. As we were talking earlier, dozens of Texas House Democrats are currently in Chicago, breaking quorum in an effort to block a Republican plan to redraw district maps at President Trump's direction. Several Republican members, most notably State Attorney General Ken Paxton, have called for the Democrats' arrest. And in a few moments, we're trying to get representative, state house representative for District 134, Ann Johnson,
if you were watching,
potentially could be joining us in a few minutes.
No, she will be with us in just a moment, but we were watching, if you were watching the news last night, you saw a big group of Democratic lawmakers from Texas, from the House, the state House, left the state, went to Chicago. They had a press conference when they got there. There are also Democrats in Boston, and I believe one other place, I think someone to New York. The idea is you have to break quorum to stop anything from proceeding in the legislature, and the only way to do that was to leave the state. If you're in the state, they can send out
the Texas Rangers.
Yeah, the Rangers, that's who it is, and that they can drag you back to Austin to vote. So
sounds so awful.
They're only what they saw, what the Democrats saw, is their only option was to leave the state to stop the movement forward on voting on the new districting maps that have been dictated down from the governor, with understanding came from the President of the United States, to get more Republican-leaning districts in our state. So Democrats have left the state and are facing some peril. At 3 o'clock today, everyone is supposed to be back in Austin to begin the session, and these Democrats are not going to be there. They will not have quorum. Without quorum, you cannot do any kind of legislation.
So the governor is suggesting he's going to create a quorum by appointing people to take their seats.
It's tricky what he said. He sent a missive out yesterday from the governor, from the desk of the governor of the state of Texas, talking about different legal precedents, laws, opinions of the attorney general, all worked into this letter, implying that, yes, what Frank said, if they are not here, they are forfeiting their duty as their elected official, and they can be removed from office, and he can reappoint.
But can he?
That's
the question.
That's
right?
what we're
it's
talking
interesting
about,
because it's very interesting to me that we were speaking with Party Politics co-host Brandon Rottinghaus and political professor, and he was using words, and we're seeing a lot of these words, truancy and bribery and unprecedented times. But my question is, when we look at this from a state level, and we can even look at it from a federal level, are these unprecedented times truly going to have long-lasting effects on policy and how we actually look at government in our Constitution, in our local Texas Constitution? Or is it it's happening right now? When we have new leadership someday, this will just be a part of a discussion, but not much of a different policy change.
If I'm not misquoting Gavin Newsom, and it's going to be a very light quote of it, it's as the power shifts right now, from his point of view, from the Democrats' point of view, they need to instill a group of politicians who will then enforce what we have seen as precedent and understanding and behavior for the last 250 years of our country, make those that we always assumed as responsibilities in the way we behave, make those official laws, and then put them into the books and be done with this kind of reinterpretation and playing around with norms.
Right.
That's where the problem comes in.
But then who gets to actually define what proper and improper?
Well, right now, it's the Republicans could move legally to cement these things.
Well, you'd think the courts would be fair, and we're finding the Supreme Court very bipartisan. So I don't know how you're even going to begin to get a commission like Gavin Newsom is talking about to sit down and figure this out.
Well, because it's coming from Gavin Newsom, he's speaking on behalf of Democrats, and they believe the right thing to do is do what Democrats believe. The Republicans believe the right thing to do is what Republicans
But I think the question then becomes, are the courts actually ruling in a bipartisan way? Or are they actually just looking at it from a policy perspective, and there is no legality to essentially block or not obstruct President Trump from going? We know the lower courts have denied some of the policy that he's tried to move forward. But again, that's the question, right? Are they ruling in bipartisan ways, or are they just looking at it from a legal standpoint?
I'm a little confused by how are you wondering, are the courts being partisan in their decision making, or are they following the letter of the law and judiciously weighing precedent?
Yes, and that the reason it seems like it's bipartisan is because whichever way they are voting on, or I'm sorry, not voting, but making those decisions on, it might not align with what you think is right or wrong. You might not agree with it from a policy.
And some of the judges, like Alito, are very constitutional.
And they're very academic.
And they try to go with the letter of the Constitution and the spirit of the way it was written. There are others who say, well, society changes a lot in 250 years from the way these laws were first written. And over time, we reinterpret. And of course, that's what we've done. We've always reinterpreted based on who we are as a people.
Right.
And that's the problem I think we're facing now is we want – so many people say, well, this is who we are. Look what happened to all of the rights over the last 40 and 50 years that were given to Americans and that we fought for and we got. And with one court decision, you're overturning them. And that's where people say, are we in a society where we want them overturned? And some people say, well, that's who voted for the president.
A lot of issues
and so then could another
here.
President come in and simply overturn all of them again? I'm trying to weigh out how this is all.
But right now, somebody who has a lot to weigh out is Texas State Representative Ann Johnson is on the line with us now. Representative, thank you for speaking with us today.
Of course. Thank you for having me, and thank you for paying attention to what's happening.
I hear you're in Chicago.
I think the whole nation is paying attention to what's going on right now, which is probably a lot more attention than you ever expected.
I am grateful that the nation is paying attention, because what Texas Republicans are trying to do in stealing 5 seats for this next election cycle, because Trump is afraid of voters in November of 2026. It is not just a Texas issue. It is a national issue, and I'm glad people are seeing it.
I do want to know, and we'll get into all of that in a minute, I am curious about your reaction to the letter that Greg Abbott sent out yesterday, August 3rd, in which he cited a few different legal codes, Texas Attorney General opinions, articles of the Texas Constitution. Your reaction to the whole missive from the governor?
Well, I think it shows how scared they are. And I realize that they think that threatening works. And the reason we know they think threatening works is because it's worked for them. When Donald Trump has threatened that, hey, guys, if you don't give me vouchers, I will endorse against you in the primary, they all rolled over and gave it to him, even though I know they didn't want to. When Donald Trump has now threatened that if you don't recarve up your seats midway through a decade, which is actually a violation of the Texas Constitution, because the Texas Constitution says we do redistricting every 10 years. And so if they're willing to go against the Texas Constitution, go against the voters of Texas to serve the interest of Trump, again, because he's threatening, if you don't, they'll primary you and you'll lose your seat.
Representative,
so that's the threat they're making to us. They think that they can scare us by saying, I'll take away your seat, so you need to just sit here and be quiet and let us do this thing. Well,
Representative Johnson, I want to point out you're a lawyer, and so I'm interested in your legal view on what's going on here, and also what the Attorney General's opinion may or may not be, and what effect it may or may not play.
I mean, I don't think this is about the legal setting. I think it's about the threat. I think it's about the harassment of them. Obviously, I know that we stand on firm ground.
Okay.
The Texas Constitution also says that we have the right to quorum break. Taking our opposition as the minority party, the fact that we are not there, it is protected by our founding fathers that says this is the tool that is available for the minority party when the minority knows that the majority has gone off the rails and is not serving the interests of the people. The founding fathers put this in place for us, and so we are absolutely on the right ground to use this in this extraordinary moment. And let me tell you, this is an extraordinary act. It is an extraordinary act, and I do not take it lightly. Mm-hmm. But it is necessary in this moment because Texas Republicans are doing something for Trump that not even Georgia would do. So don't forget, when Trump called Georgia Republicans and said, hey, boys, I need you to find me 11,000 votes, they stood up and said, no, sir, we're not doing that. That's not the way we play this game. But when Trump called Texas Republicans and said, hey, boys, I need you to find me 5 seats because I'm afraid of the outcome in the next election cycle, they basically said, does July work for you? So in a month where we should have been talking about a devastating impact in Kerrville, and we should have been advocating for solutions for real Texas problems, they did one bill. We've been there for 2 weeks. They've brought forth one bill. The only bill they have had any interest in hearing is redistricting. That is wrong.
Representative Johnson, can you elaborate and tell us a little bit about how this plan to go to Chicago came up?
Well, I'm a member of the House caucus, and when the call came and said the bill is being put on the floor, and this is the tool that we have available to us and the only tool at this point because Republicans are not listening to the will of the voters, I answered that call with my other colleagues. And I will tell you that our Democratic leadership has been the one to put things together. We have trusted our leaders in this moment, and we are following them in unison with them, recognizing that this is an extraordinary act to, again, get more than 50 of our Democratic colleagues to not be available for quorum today at 3 o'clock. And so I think everybody is going to be watching. They're going to see how many people are in the seats. And I will tell you, I am disappointed that my colleagues are effectively asking, come sit in your seat at 3 o'clock and let us ram this through.
And are you concerned at all about being arrested or thrown out of the Texas legislature?
Well, of course, that's the threat that they're making. And I think people, that should sound a lot of red alarms for a lot of folks. As I said, the founding fathers put in place in the Texas Constitution that quorum break is an appropriate step to advocate the voice of the minority party. The idea that they're saying we are now going to find some allegation or some way to come and arrest you, this is other foreign dictator country stuff. The idea that you arrest your political opposition because you don't like the fact that they're actually standing up for their people or that they're voicing opposition, that's not American. And so I understand they're making that threat. I get it. I know what their intention is, but we need each and every person to realize this is not normal. Mid-decade redistricting is not normal, and the threat to arrest your political opposition, the party of opposition voice, that is not normal.
I'm going to put some words in the mouth of the governor here that he hasn't said, at least that I'm not seeing in the letter, but almost calling dereliction of duty, that by leaving and breaking quorum, you are not doing the job that you were elected and sworn in to actually do. How do you address that?
Absolutely false. This is exactly what the tool of quorum break is there for, is to advocate for our group. Let me tell you what abandonment is. Abandonment is leaving for Cancun when you have a deadly freeze. Abandonment is cutting health care when you have the highest rate of uninsured children in the nation. Abandonment is giving vouchers and more money to private institutions when your public education system is toward the bottom of the barrel nationally. Abandonment is hearing the victims from Kerrville and not offering a bill at that moment in crisis and pushing through a redistricting plan. I mean, within days, because you want to get this sucker to the floor because you have to satisfy the interest of Trump. That's abandoning the people of Texas, not this act. This act is the most public service-oriented thing that can be done in this moment.
Speaking of abandonment, do you feel abandoned by the House Speaker that the Democrats worked to elect?
I mean, the Speaker is the Speaker, and we elected him. But in this moment, we are seeing that this is a true partisan divide. And I would caution everybody, this is intended to drive a deeper and deeper wedge, a greater frustration among us as Texans. That's what this is intended to do. And it's intended for people to feel hopeless and to feel like, why show up and vote if they can just decide that mid-decade that they want to come take my congressional district and my member that I have a relationship with and now carve up my communities because it serves them being able to guarantee that a Republican's going to be elected, this is the division. And so one of the things that we have advocated for, and I've advocated for, is an independent commission to redraw the line. You know what? Get rid of the partisanship. Let the voters pick. Let the voters draw, and then let's go to the ballot box every November of every odd year or even year, and let's fight it out fairly. And so I'm happy if we can get away from the political partisan extremism and get back to the independence and bringing people together, not further dividing us.
Talk to me a little bit about the concept of how long can this go on? Eventually you'll return to the state. You're actually incurring a $500 a day fine for each member that is out of state or out of quorum. My question is, the governor can keep calling special sessions all the way for the next year and a half until the next session convenes. What can you do? How long can this last? And by staying out, are you just pausing the inevitable?
I mean, we're Texans, and so if you think about in football, when the other side is first and goal at the one, you don't pull your defense. You play, and you play every play, and you battle out what you can. And right now, the play before us is this special session. There were things that we needed to talk about on flood relief and others, but they decided that all they wanted to talk about was redistricting. And so our goal is to defeat this call, this special session, and then everything resets. And again, the governor decides what's important. Is it important to bring us back to talk about policies that average Texans care about, or is it only important to bring us back to do this redistricting? I don't know anybody that's asking for this except for Trump. And y'all probably saw the hearings, and you saw that I think about 99% of the people that came to testify said they have no interest in doing this. This only serves one purpose in Trump. And so it's important to think about who you elect as governor, because only the governor can call us back for special session. Only the governor gets to decide what's important to you. And now you know who Abbott serves. It's not the people of Texas. It's Donald Trump. And there's a reason that we say don't mess with Texas, and it's about time we start electing people who will actually mean it.
We have heard a lot of the Democrats' point of view on this, where they stand on it. I'm curious, and I don't know if you're the right person to ask this, but I'm trying to understand this better. Whenever we talk about why the Republicans are doing this, when we hear from Democrats, we hear it's because the president wants it, because the president wants those seats. What is the Republican talking point about why this is so important? I don't know that I've clearly heard that.
Well, it makes no sense because right now there is a lawsuit with regard to the lines that they put in place, of which they claim they did not improperly gerrymander based on race. And yet now Trump and the Department of Justice has issued a letter claiming this ruse that they have redistricted based on race, and now they need to change it. So they don't even know what they're arguing for. It makes no legal sense. What we do know is that Trump got his big ugly bill passed by one vote. We do know this is not a popular policy, and we know that he wants to keep the Senate and the House and maintain this power over the entire nation. But he's afraid of voters in the next election, that they will not give him the slim, narrow margin of power that he has right now in the House. And so he has said, just do a simple redraw, go pluck me 5 seats out of Texas, and that would solve his problem. That is why I am floored that Texas Republicans don't have the ability to tell him no and defend the interest of our state over his personal interest.
Representative Johnson, since arriving in Chicago, have you heard from any other Republican legislators besides Governor Abbott and Attorney General Paxton?
Of course. And I am one of the folks that is recognized as working across the aisle. And I have always worked across the aisle, and I have always been willing to work across the aisle. But there is a line in the sand. And the line in the sand is I'm being asked to show up today at 3 o'clock, either threat of losing my vice chairmanship or a fine that's being allocated or the threat of arrest. And I'm being told personally, if you just show up today at 3 o'clock and sit in that chair and let us pass what we want, and you can keep yours. If I sit there and shut up, it shuts up every voter in Texas. And so that's the line. No, This is not something where I will simply sit there and let you silence the voice of countless Texas voters, which is going to ripple and have a ripple impact across the nation, to tell people that their vote doesn't matter, their voice doesn't matter, because when the party in power is afraid they're going to lose it, they can just break the Texas Constitution, redraw the lines, reshuffle the deck, pick your elected officials, and ensure that they stay in power. That is wrong.
When is it going to be safe for you to come back? By safe, I mean you could come back and not have to deal with that vote.
Again, it's up to Governor Abbott. Yeah. Who do we serve? Does he want us to come back and debate issues that Texans actually care about? And look, we debate policy issues all the time. We debate women's health care, public education, and Republicans have run Texas for 30 years, and they usually get their way. This is not a policy debate. This is not a discussion of how you feel about THC or weed or anything else. This is breaking the fundamental institution and stealing 5 congressional seats because the head of your party asked you to do it. This is so beyond the pale of what we should find acceptable that everybody, and look, I have lots of folks reaching out to me, many of which are Republicans, saying thank you. People are tired of Texas not standing up against Trump and the extremism that he is infiltrating on all of us.
Representative, quickly before we run out of time, I'm just curious, you talk about being bipartisan, working across the aisle, talking with your colleagues. Have you heard from any elected Republicans that are saying, we're with you on this, we could be swayed not to vote for the maps?
I don't, unfortunately, my colleagues have advocated and pushed for that bill and put it on for today.
So no chance of any wavering there?
I mean, again, I think our job as the minority party is to voice the interest of not only the minority, but what you're seeing nationwide is clearly an interest in trying to get back to some normalcy, to not allow Trump to cheat before the next election cycle and steal 5 seats for his own benefit. We know that folks really don't want to do this. And so it will be up to Republicans to decide that they finally want to stand up and Trump and say, you know what, this just doesn't work for us. We can't do it. And so we'll see what happens from here. It's day by day.
State House Representative for District 134, Ann Johnson. Representative Johnson, thank you for joining us today on Hello Houston.
Yep. I appreciate your passion.
And courage is contagious. So it is time for us to pass it on. Thank you.
Thank you.
Coming up on Hello Houston, Houston Council member Carolyn Evans-Shabazz joins us, and she represents District D. This is News 88.7. Stay with us.
With federal funding cuts, Houston Public Media has lost $2.2 million annually. In response, we have launched the Resiliency Fund, an urgent initiative to protect the programs and services you rely on. That includes PBS Kids, that provides free educational programming to children and families across Greater Houston. Your support of the Resiliency Fund helps keep this vital service accessible to our community. Give now at houstonpublicmedia.org/donate.
At 9 a.m. on News 88.7.
It's one thing to love public radio, but it's a special thing to support it. Consider this. If you've got a car you don't need anymore, or you've got one that's simply too expensive to repair, you can arrange to donate it to Houston Public Media. We take any kind of vehicle in any condition. It's easy for you, pickup is free, and it could be worth hundreds of dollars in support. Visit houstonpublicmedia.org/cars to learn more. And thanks.
I'm Aisha Roscoe, host of Weekend Edition Sunday, where we're not just interested in what's going on in the world.
Support for Houston Public Media comes from Alley Theater, presenting Agatha Christie's The Mirror Cracked, a mystery where everyone becomes the suspect of a murder in a web of jealousy and hidden truths. Tickets and more at alleytheater.com. Support for Houston Public Media comes from listeners like you and from Baylor College of Medicine. Through research and innovation, Baylor continues to redefine what's possible in healthcare and medical discovery.
And now back to Hello Houston. To comment on today's topics, call or text 713-4 440-8870 or email us at talk@hellohouston.org. Now here's Ernie Manous, Celeste Diaz-Sherman, and Frank Billingsley.
I told you the storms would be in Galveston at 12:30, and guess what?
12:33.
There you go.
And I also want to clarify, I think in our earlier discussion, I kept saying bipartisan. I was trying to say partisan. So thank you, Wine Goddess, for saying it. Celeste, I think the word you're looking for is partisan. And, you know, Hello Houston is designed to be a platform for all of us to come together and for local, state, and federal leaders to openly discuss their policies. We just heard a second ago from Texas State Representative Ann Johnson of District 134. It is also a platform for you, our listeners, to join us and on this discussion and ask those questions and issues that matter to you and to us as well. Today, we welcome Council Member Carolyn Evans-Shabazz. She represents District D at City Hall. And if you would like to join the conversation and if you have questions, you can give us a call at 713-440-8870. Councilmember Evans-Shabazz, welcome to Hello Houston. Thanks for joining us.
Well, thank you so very much for having me.
Exactly which neighborhoods are yours, just so our listeners know?
Do you really want me to start there?
Well,
Sagemont, South Park, Sunnyside, South Union, 3rd Ward, Museum District, Medical Center.
Oh, nice.
Midtown.
So before we get into all the issues facing you on
and
this,
3rd Ward, excuse me.
Third Ward.
Yeah, I did say third ward. Right here where we are today.
Yes. Before you get into all the issues facing your district, I'm curious just your reaction to what's going on statewide right now with the Democrats and this redistricting.
Well, I'm going to have to say, of course, I am a Democrat, but more importantly, I am for democracy. And I see that there's a mandate that has been given from the White House to call for 5 additional Republican representatives. We're in the middle of a census cycle, so I don't know, other than racial, political reasons, why they would be trying to redraw the lines at this juncture. But certainly, I commend the Democrats for taking a stand, which is not an easy stand because they face possible fines and other things that may come down. But at some point, you have to take a stand. And hopefully, someone will decide that we're not going to do this right now. I know people have testified and sent letters and whatever, which is all good because everybody needs to know that this is not right. But at the end of the day, the stance that they have taken now by leaving the state should be commended. And I believe that we should support them the best that we can because it's a travesty. And because you've been given a mandate does not make it the right thing to do. And so I'm a little appalled about it.
Well, might does not make right.
Absolutely not. And we're talking about fairness and, you're trying to impact the minority vote, particularly African Americans and Latinos. And I think that that's totally unfair. And, I have to say that it sounds kind of cliche. I have friends that are Republican, but I've never looked at the party as being so disoriented and disconnected as it is now. And it just really, really disturbs me that it's no longer about the people, but certainly about the party, and in particular about one person. So it's 3 Ps. Okay, 3 Ps.
It's interesting in the past, whenever I would introduce an elected official on our programs, I never thought you needed to give their political party. I thought political party in the race, but once they're elected, they represent all the people of the area they've been elected. That seems to have changed a bit. So I'm curious, from your point of view, once elected, how do you make sure you represent all sides of the issue when you speak for your community in city council?
Well, actually, city council electeds are nonpartisan. Mm-hmm. So we don't come in shaking a party banner. Mm-hmm. And so I represent people and hopefully common sense and being able to give everybody quality of life. And so that's my perspective.
How do we get everybody to think that way? How do we bring that platform to the state and the country?
Well, now you want to pull on my psychological background. I really don't know, other than just hoping that people will really realize why they are there. And it's not for self, and it's not to promote yourself or certainly someone else. It's certainly should be about the people, and the people are greatly impacted by the many things that have come down recently. That is going to certainly impact them and their quality of life. And I just hope that people will have a conscience. The people that are in those positions will certainly have some sleepless nights until they can realize that they are on the wrong side of history.
And Councilmember Evans-Shabazz, we had Councilmember Tiffany Thomas on Friday of District F, and she was discussing to us about how this would essentially, the redistricting would affect her area and her role in that she would go from having to work with 2 representatives to potentially 3 to 4. How would this affect your area in District D?
Well, currently I do have 2 representatives, which would be Jolanda Jones and Lauren Simmons in the state. And so, with the redrawing of the lines, it's really hard to say how that's going to impact. But, I try to work with anybody and everybody, and I am willing to make adjustments that are reasonable. But the people that are there, they already have the heart and the desire to do for the people in my constituency. And so I'm just, concerned because I'm also, my Congress is Al Green, and certainly in the vacancy now with the death of Sheila Jackson Lee and ultimately Sylvester Turner. So, which is really unfortunate as well, because some of the things that were passed in Congress were passed with 1 vote. And certainly had we had representation, which we deserved, we certainly could have stopped some of that which is going on. So it does, I always think that local politics is really your most important. But as we move up the chain, it's certainly everything is like a domino effect. And it certainly can affect those that are in certain districts.
So speaking of local politics, what's keeping you awake at night in District D?
You mean the texts, the emails, the phone calls?
Where are your concerns right now with your district?
We get a lot of calls about the trash.
What is going on with trash in this city these days? Can you help me understand?
So we're going to talk trash, right?
Yeah, we're going to talk trash.
All right. Well, actually, we have a new director, and he has promised that they're going to get on schedule. But they have a lot of trucks that are not operating right now. And of course, the trash continues to pile up regardless of whether you have the manpower or the mechanical tools such as vehicles. Hopefully it's going to come under control, but I get a lot. And the thing is, what I want people to understand is I have to put my trash out as well. And my trash is sometimes not picked up. Of course, I could probably get, some special whatever. But I really believe that everybody in the neighborhood needs fair trash pickup. And I believe that is the objective. And the mayor has worked with the director, and the director has worked with the mayor. And I think that we're going to eventually get it under control.
Soon? Can you give an estimate?
Well, I'm anticipating hopefully within a month. Okay. I would hope. It's really hard for me to say because, it really depends on whether the trucks are put back in service. Of course, we always come up every time and we talk about a trash fee, and nobody wants to seem to talk about that, which may be very helpful in hiring more people and servicing the vehicles. And so I'm a person that believes that it is my responsibility to put my fair share out there, and it's going to help everybody if everybody does it. And so hopefully at some point we will discuss the trash fee. And certainly one of the biggest I keep hearing and getting, and I think this is going to be one of the topics of conversation, the noise that is taking place. Everybody, oh, yeah, that's it. The noise that is taking place particularly now on Emancipation. We did have a huge problem on Alameda at one time, but I think that it's been kind of covered for a while. And certainly we have certain parts of the city around the parks where we have pop-ups, so to speak, with the cyclists and the trucks and the whatever. And so we keep HPD very busy, as well as Constable Smokey Phillips, who certainly always engages to help us.
Zoning, would that help with the noise if we approve zoning, or is that just too
You know, that seems to be a taboo subject. That is something that I think went on the ballot many, many years ago, and for some reason it did not pass. But it would help.
Would it help?
Because that would mean that people would already be aware of certain businesses that are going to attract a certain amount of noise and traffic, whereas over on Emancipation, they're right there mixed up with the residents. And it's a nightmare over there. I have to say that myself. I don't live very far, and so I do pass over there occasionally just to kind of check on things. If I hear there's going to be a big party or whatever, I do reach out to HPD and the constable, and they do show up to come and try to deal with that. But more recently, the mayor has been involved with the police chief, and now we're going to have a club squad. Now, I'm told that it's supposed to start like any day now, and then they will be able to control the traffic and noise just as they have done on Alameda. But it takes time to get it done. But certainly, my heart goes out to people who are living in that area. My other job, I'm a real estate broker, and I cringe when people want to even look at properties over there, you know, because they really, you know, you really need to disclose that these things are happening over there to let them know that their quality of life could be greatly impacted. Mm-hmm. But, you know, they're closing off streets and all the kinds of things that are just unbelievable taking over, but they're not from the area, most of the people. They are coming from other areas, but they're certainly disrespecting the neighborhoods.
And you're listening to Hello Houston. We're speaking with Councilmember Carolyn Evans-Shabazz, and you can join the conversation at 713-440-8870.
We have a call from Jacob in the Montrose area. Jacob, what's your question or comment?
Shabazz is the district of destiny, and is a destination your event at Energy Park, and also to go to U of H, that's just also in the District of Destiny.
Yes, how are you today, Jacob?
Oh, I'm doing quite well, Dr. Carolyn.
Wonderful. Yeah, it's the District of Destination, but we're not trying to have the noise and the disruption make its destiny to District D.
And I think Jacob's question is an NRG Park where I work in the District of Destination?
NRG is actually District K.
Okay.
But we are right there close to that area. So that would be the district where our Mayor Pro Tem, Martha Castex Tatum, is the council member. But we have a lot of engagements around that area, and they are District D.
The steps with the homeless that have been recently taken, that's got to affect your districts, part of it.
Certainly.
Yes.
Certainly it does.
How's that working? Has it been successful or not?
Well, you know, and I have to take a heavy sigh because first and foremost, I have a very deep affection and love for people, period, regardless of where they are in life and where they're going and where they have been. And some of the people are in really unsafe conditions, either physically and mentally. And we're just trying to actually get more than making it criminal or criminalizing them. We want them to take advantage of the resources that could help them to maybe get some mental help and some financial help and a roof. And so the most recent was the civility ordinance, which we have in District D, but it is not for the 24-hour period like it is downtown. Of course, the concern is if they're not zombies. They have to sit down, lay down somewhere. So they will be pushed to adjacent neighborhoods, which eventually is probably going to result in the 24-hour civility notice ordinance in those areas as well. But again, you know, people, you all are criminalizing the homeless. I would love for somebody to give me a solution to this because it's multifaceted, because people are out there for different reasons. Some just don't want to don't want to be a part of the thread, and some are mentally unstable, or some just don't have resources. So to say that there's one solution is really not a correct statement, but certainly we are striving to try to get them to get the resources, not to criminalize them.
Thank you. I want to get a call in from Paul. He's in Midtown.
Okay.
Hi, Paul.
Hello. Hey, how are you doing today? Thank you, councilperson. Heard your comments about the noise and whatnot on when you're saying it jumped from Alameda to Emancipation. That is true. Ever since Turkey Lake Hut shut down about 6 months ago, the traffic and the noise on Alameda has died down, but it jumped across 288. And now if you try and get over around Emancipation and Elgin and whatnot, it's crazy. The traffic there and the noise is as bad as it was when the Rockets won the championships back in the early 90s down Richmond Avenue. I live on the other side of 288 off of McGowan, and we can even hear it from that side. But hopefully the mayor, what you were saying, going to have a squad going out there, but the residents on that side are really, really getting it bad.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Paul.
And Paul.
One other thing. The whole power grab with the redistricting, that's ridiculous. I've been in Houston since 1973. I remember when Barbara Jordan was my rep for the 18th district.
Absolutely.
And then we had Washington, and then we had Sheila Jackson Lee, and then it was just a power grab by the governor, not even giving us representatives in all this time period, and we could have had at least one vote. We're not the only one here. There's one up in Dallas and somewhere else in the country. Those 3 votes could have put a stop to the big, ugly, horrendous bill.
Paul, we're going to be covering that throughout the weeks to come on the show. So I hope you keep listening, and I hope you'll call back and share. We're just a little bit tight on time right now.
Thank you, Paul. You're my kind of guy.
Representative or Council Member Shabazz, what do you have to say about that?
Well, he said a lot.
Well, asked and answered, I think. I mean, the noise problem is a noise problem.
Well, he's absolutely right, and we're hoping that the squad will be able to stop some of that. And then we did, and when I say we, it was Councilmember Kamen, Sally Alcorn, and I sat with Mayor Turner, and we helped to devise a noise ordinance, which is supposed to address some of the noise. But what I have found to be the problem with that is enforcement. And certainly they may get the citations, but we have to have the court system to cooperate. Right. And what I have spoken about on many, many occasions, we need night court. The infractions are taking place at night. Right. The police officers are there at night, and they must be in attendance at these court hearings. And what you're asking them to do is give a citation, and they work at night, and then you want them to turn around, and you're having court at 9 a.m., and they have to be in court 8:30 or 9, and they're not on the clock. And so we're asking, and I've asked several times, if the court we could have night court.
Love it.
Right. And then that way the people, even in the community who are working during the day and trying to sleep at night, can come to court to testify.
It's a great idea.
Thank you.
Thank
Council
you so
member,
much.
Council member Carolyn Evans-Shabazz, thank you so much for joining us today on Hello Houston.
Oh, I'm done. Oh my God. But
come back. Come back on a lighter news
Ask
day.
me anytime. I live right over there. And so I'll be certainly happy to come back. And thank you for what you're doing and informing people in the city of Houston.
Thank you. Coming up, we will meet a special little fundraiser. Stay with us as Hello Houston continues.
Federal funding for public media has been cut. In response, we're creating Houston Public Media's Resiliency Fund. Donations made toward the fund will directly counter the loss of the $2.2 million in federal funds that were cut annually and strengthen our station's foundation to provide our services into the future. Contributing to this fund is easy and quick and makes all the difference to our station. Help build the Resiliency Fund now at houstonpublicmedia.org/donate.
Now back to Hello Houston. To comment on today's topics, call or text 713-440-8870 or email us at talk@hellohouston.org. Now here's Ernie Manous, Celeste Diaz-Sherman, and Frank Billingsley.
A couple of weeks ago, when Congress voted to end funding for the Corporation for Public Broadcasting, CPB, we received a text from a father of a 10-year-old boy who was worried his PBS Kids programming and web presence was going away, and he wanted to find a way to help. He pooled his money, if I'm not mistaken, a total of $10, and went to his dad to find out what more he could do. Well, as we shared his story on the show, people called in showing their support, and a group of us, hosts included, promised to match what Erick could raise. So joining us now to tell his story is Erick and his father, Erick Estrada. No, not that Erick Estrada. Welcome to the program.
I want to say thank you. Thank you for having us on the program.
No, I want to say thank you to you. This whole story just excited everyone, listeners, our staff. Erick, you wanted to save PBS.
Yes.
So what did you do?
I raised my money, and I always wanted to do that.
Yeah.
What's your show? What's your show on PBS?
My show is
your favorite show.
Wildcrats.
Wildcrats.
Wow, that's a big one in my house too. And you know, it's not just watching PBS. You also mentioned the app. Are there games that you like to play as well?
All of them.
All of them. Okay, Dad Erick, talk to us a little bit. Your son decides he's going to raise money and he wants to save PBS.
Yes, he does. This is something that he took upon himself, and we are very proud of him. He started off with $5, and right now his grand total is $298.
Whoa! It was only $150 the other day. What's going on?
So I'm sorry. Go ahead and finish, Erick.
Yeah, $298.25.
Oh wow, $300.
Wow,
Yes.
you've raised $300. So how did you do that, Erick? Did you say I'm going to go ask my friends, or that's courageous? So what did you do? How did you make that happen?
I made that happen with my neighbors around the block and my family.
So your community.
Have you done it before? I mean, are you one of those guys that sells anything and everything, or this is your first entrepreneurial attempt?
First time.
Just raising
Erick,
money for us.
I want you to realize, so you say you raised basically $300. But actually, you've raised $1,200 because these three hosts, Celeste, Frank, and myself, are all going to match what you raised. So your effort is bringing in $1,200, and we have asked our listeners of this show to match what you raise. So some folks already said they were going to do $150. We'll take the $150 if that's all you can do. But if you want to match Erick right now, we invite you to also go online at houstonpublicmedia.org/donate and then match what Erick raised, because Erick really is the purpose of all this. It's raising money for something that you believe in and programming you can trust.
And Erick, big Erick, what did that mean to you as a parent to see your son, seeing a cause that he wanted to contribute to?
Well, I think this falls back on the programming itself. He's learned so much. He's watched since he was a very young child. And this is an extraordinary experience for him and us, and we had no say-so, and he took it upon himself, and we are very proud of him.
Yeah.
Words can't describe what my wife and I feel at this moment.
Yeah, and again, that was brave of you to go out and ask your neighbors and your family members. And what did you tell them whenever you were asking them for money?
I told them that I loved PBS Kids, and I wanted them to support it with me.
Yeah.
They said okay.
Yeah.
We spend so much time talking about the news and information for parents, and often in the messaging, especially on radio, we forget the kids that it impacts. And to not just have parents tell us how much it impacts them, to have a boy like Erick come forward and say, I depend on this program, I appreciate this program, and I'd be lost if it wasn't there. And then not just to say it, but to actually go out and raise funds because you believed in it enough. Thank you. Thank you for your help and support, and to both Ericks.
Yeah, to both. And we did get a question, how do we pledge? Ernie, do you know how people can pledge?
HoustonPublicMedia.org/donate. Just go online and do that right now. My British computer guy says, that's freaking awesome. Well done, young sir. And then said, I'm pledging $150, okay?
Yeah.
And then we also got other folks saying, great job. Congratulations, you're a little hero today.
Erick and Erick Estrada, both of you, thank you so much for being here and supporting Houston Public Media and being on Hello Houston.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
And that brings us to the end of our show. We want to thank you for listening and joining in on the conversation on today's Hello Houston. We will be back tomorrow with more conversation and information. This is News 88.7.
Thanks for listening to Hello Houston. Join us every Monday through Friday from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. to talk all things Houston. The Hello Houston production team includes Garrett Bowman, William Menjivar, Jen Altai, Todd Holslander, and Jim Kovacic. For the latest in local news, subscribe to the Hello Houston daily newsletter at HoustonPublicMedia.org. Hello Houston is a production of Houston Public Media. The opinions expressed by the guests of this program are solely their own and do not represent the views of management, staff, or underwriters of Houston Public Media. This is News 88.7.
Support comes from SunnyPro, a Houston-based business advisory firm providing consulting solutions, specializing in mergers, acquisitions, divestitures, and valuations for